me ask you something. When was the last time you cleaned your house? You probably remember. Maybe it was yesterday, maybe this morning. But when was the last time you cleaned your mind? Think about it. Every single day, we wake up and step into a world that throws thousands of messages at us, news headlines, social media feeds, negative people, old regrets, future worries, and we let them pile up inside. We carry them like invisible baggage. And here's the truth. You can't build a powerful life with a mind full of junk. Most people take better care of their phone storage than they do their mental storage. They delete old files, clear the cache, make space for new data. Yet they never delete the toxic thoughts, the doubts, the mental clutter that's been slowing them down for years. And then they wonder why they feel tired, stressed, and unfocused even when nothing big is happening. Today, I'm not here to just inspire you. I'm here to challenge you, because cleaning your mind isn't a luxury. It's survival. It's the difference between living a life of constant reaction and living a life of conscious creation. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to give you 6 powerful ways to clear your mind daily so you can wake up every morning feeling light, focused, and unstoppable. And if you stay with me till the end, you'll walk out of here with a mental clarity you haven't felt in years. Let's start. You know, when most people think of clutter, they think of the messy kitchen counter, the pile of clothes in the corner, the garage they've been meaning to clean for years. And sure, that's clutter. The most dangerous clutter isn't in your house, it's in your head. The human mind is like a workspace. It can only handle so much before it slows down, gets distracted, and starts losing the big picture. Every day we're stacking new thoughts, finished decisions, random worries, and little frustrations on top of each other, like paper after paper piling up on a desk. At first, it seems manageable, but slowly, without realizing it, you can't even find the space to think clearly. Here's the danger of mental clutter. Doesn't just sit there quietly. It takes energy to hold on to it. That's why you can feel exhausted even if you didn't do much in a day. Your mind has been burning fuel just trying to keep up with the backlog of thoughts, the mental tabs you left open. Just like your phone slows down when you've got too many apps running, your mind slows down when too many unfinished thoughts are left running in the background. Most people don't realize it until the symptoms start showing up. They can't focus on one thing for more than a few minutes. They forget what they were about to say. They feel stressed without knowing why. They're quick to get irritated over small things. And it's not because they're weak or lazy. It's because their mind is jammed with so much noise, there's no room for clarity. Think of it like this. If you walk into a room filled with junk, your options are limited. You can't invite people in. You can't set up something new. You can't move freely. The space is taken. The same is true for your mental space. If it's filled with old grudges, unsolved problems, or fears about things that haven't even happened yet, you don't have the capacity to create something new. You don't have the space to think big, to dream, to innovate, or to even feel peace. The first step to cleaning your mind daily is awareness. You've got to actually notice the clutter. And here's the tricky part. Most of it is invisible. Some of it has been there for years. You've carried around certain worries or memories for so long that they feel normal, like background noise you've learned to live with. But just because you've adapted to it doesn't mean it's not holding you back. This is where you need to slow down for a moment and ask yourself, what am I holding on to right now that I don't need? It might be a small frustration that happened yesterday. It might be the fact you didn't get enough sleep last night. You've been complaining about it in your head all day. It might be a conversation from last week that didn't go well, and you've replayed it over and over like a broken record. Each of these things takes up mental bandwidth. Here's the truth. You don't get that bandwidth back until you let them go. The people who move fastest in life aren't the ones who have no problems. They're the ones who don't let problems stay in their head for too long. They address them, make a decision, and clear them out. You can't keep thinking about the same thing 100 times and expect to have space left for creativity or growth. Every thought you carry is like a file on your desk. If you don't decide whether to keep it, file it, throw it away, your desk becomes useless. The danger is most people don't have a daily practice for this. They clean their homes weekly, their bodies daily, but their minds, they wait until something breaks, until they hit burnout, till they snap at someone they love, until they're lying in bed at night wondering why they feel so overwhelmed. But it doesn't have to get to that point. If you commit to clearing the mental clutter every single day, never let it pile up into chaos. One of the simplest ways to do this is to take 5 to 10 minutes a day to perform a mental dump. Sit down with a piece of paper or even talk into your phone's recorder. Spill everything that's been bouncing around in your head. No filtering, no editing. Just get it out. Write down every worry, every task, every idea, every frustration. Don't try to solve it while you're dumping it. Just clear it from your mind. Act of transferring it from your head into a physical form immediately creates mental space. Once you've done that, look at what's in front of you. You'll notice something interesting. Half of it isn't worth your time. You'll see things you've been mentally carrying that are either completely out of your control or no longer relevant. Let those go. Cross them off, delete them, and decide that they're not going to rent space in your head anymore. For the rest, Make a plan. Either take action now or schedule it for later, but get it off the mental loop where it keeps playing over and over without resolution. This isn't just about feeling better. It's about performing better. Clean mind makes faster decisions. A clean mind notices opportunities you'd miss when you're distracted. A clean mind has the energy to create, to connect, to enjoy life without being weighed down by the constant hum of unfinished thoughts. You've probably experienced moments of mental clarity before, maybe after a good workout, a vacation, or a deep conversation with a friend. Remember how light and focused you felt? That's not a random accident. That's the result of letting go of some of the clutter. The power here is realizing you can create that feeling on purpose every single day. And yes, it's work. Just like cleaning your home isn't something you do once and forget. Cleaning your mind is a daily choice. Some days you'll have a lot to clear. Some days not much at all, but the habit is what matters. Because the truth is, chaos doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's the result of small messes piling up over time. You can prevent the storm by clearing the clouds while they're small. The next time you feel heavy, unfocused, or drained, before you assume something's wrong with you, ask yourself, am I just carrying too much mental clutter right now? You might be amazed at how quickly your energy shifts when you let go of even a little. When your mind is clear, you don't just think better, you live better. Your mind is not a trash can, but most people treat it like one every day. Without realizing it, they allow toxic thoughts, damaging opinions, and heavy emotional baggage from the outside world to pour in. Here's the thing, you don't have to invite negativity in for it to show up. It will find you. It's in the news headlines designed to keep you in fear. It's in the social media posts that make you feel like you're behind in life. It's in the people who unload their problems on you but never want solutions. We live in an age where information is constant, relentless, and unfiltered. That can be a gift or a curse depending on what you allow in. Your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant, it will grow. If you keep feeding it negativity, don't be surprised when your thoughts start growing weeds instead of flowers. And if you're thinking, well, go looking for negativity, you don't have to. It comes in disguised as entertainment, gossip, harmless complaining, or even casual small talk. But the effect is the same. It shapes the way you think, the way you feel, ultimately the way you live. Most people underestimate just how much their environment influences them. Spend time around people who complain all day, and you'll start to feel like life is against you. Constantly read stories about how the world is falling apart, and you'll start living with anxiety about the future. Scroll through images of other people's perfect lives for long enough, you'll start feeling like yours isn't enough, even if it's actually beautiful. Negativity doesn't always hit you like a punch in the face. Sometimes it seeps in drop by drop until you're drowning without realizing it. That's why a daily mental detox isn't optional. It's necessary. You wouldn't drink dirty water every day and expect to feel healthy. So why keep drinking in dirty thoughts, harmful conversations, and toxic energy? Your mind needs protection. You have to become the gatekeeper. You decide what gets in. And this is not about living in denial or pretending the world is perfect. It's about choosing what you feed your focus on, because what you focus on expands. If you constantly focus on problems, you'll find more problems. If you focus on possibilities, you'll find more opportunities. This starts with awareness. Take inventory of your daily inputs. What are you watching? What are you listening to? Who are you spending time with? Kind of energy are you absorbing from your environment? Be brutally honest with yourself. If something leaves you feeling drained, anxious, or less confident after you've engaged with it, that's a negative input, and it's time to limit or remove it. That might mean turning off the TV after a certain time, unfollowing certain people online, or having less frequent conversations with someone who is always negative. I know some of you are thinking, but I can't just avoid negative people. I live with them. I work with them. They're in my family. True. You can't control every environment you're in, but you can control your boundaries and your reaction. If you can't fully remove the source, you can limit the exposure. You can protect your mind by not absorbing everything. You can choose not to engage in gossip, not to join in when people are tearing others down, not to spend your commute filling your head with angry news debates that solve nothing. The beauty is, once you start cutting down negative inputs, you create space for positive ones. And this is where your life changes. You start replacing that toxic diet with empowering, uplifting, and inspiring content. Instead of scrolling through endless social feeds in the morning, you listen to an audiobook or a podcast that feeds your mind with new ideas. Instead of watching the news at night, you read something that teaches you a skill or challenges your thinking in a good way. Instead of spending hours with people who complain, you intentionally connect with those who are solution-focused and forward-thinking. What happens when you do this daily? Your mental state shifts. You start noticing solutions faster. You feel more hopeful about the future. You begin to believe in possibilities again. And when you believe in possibilities, you take bigger actions. And when you take bigger actions, you get better results. It's not magic. It's conditioning. You're conditioning your mind to focus on what builds you, not what breaks you. Now, here's the catch. Negative inputs are seductive. They're addictive. They give your brain little hits of stimulation. That's why gossip feels juicy. Bad news spreads faster than good news. Why outrage goes viral. Your brain craves novelty, and negativity often comes packaged in a way that hooks your attention. But just because something grabs your attention doesn't mean it deserves your attention. You've got to train yourself to walk away from what's easy in the moment and choose what's better for your long-term mental health. And I'm not telling you to live in a bubble. I'm telling you to filter. Just like you filter your drinking water, filter your mental water. Decide what's worth letting in. You might still check the news, but you do it with purpose and in moderation. You might still be around negative people. You focus on controlling your state instead of letting theirs control yours. You stop giving unlimited access to your mind to people and platforms that have no investment in your growth. If you really want to see the power of this, try a 7-day negative input detox. For 1 week, cut out toxic news, gossip, and unnecessary social media scrolling. Replace it with reading, learning, uplifting conversations, and silence. By the end of the week, you'll feel like someone upgraded the operating system in your brain. Your energy will be higher. Your patience will be longer. Your thinking will be sharper. You'll realize how much of your stress wasn't even yours. It was borrowed from the negativity you were letting in. That's the secret most people never discover. So much of the heaviness they carry isn't from their own life. It's from the constant stream of negativity they've been feeding on. The moment you change your inputs, you change your internal world. And when you change your internal world, the external world starts to look very different, even if nothing else has changed yet. Because the truth is, the quality of your mind is a direct reflection of the quality of your inputs. You feed your body junk, you feel sluggish. You feed your mind junk, you think sluggish. But when you feed it well, it becomes your most powerful asset. And once your mind is free from that constant stream of negativity, you start to realize you were never the problem. The problem was what you were allowing in. Overthinking is like being in a rocking chair. It keeps you busy, but it gets you nowhere. You can spend hours, days, even weeks replaying the same scenarios, running through the same what if questions. In the end, you're in the exact same spot, only more exhausted. And here's the thing. Overthinking feels like you're doing something. It tricks you into believing you're preparing, you're being careful, you're avoiding mistakes. The truth, you're just burning mental fuel without moving forward. Most people don't realize how much of their life is lost to overthinking. They wake up in the morning and before their feet even hit the ground, their mind is running at full speed. If I can't finish that project, what if they don't like my idea? What if I fail? What if I succeed and can't handle it? Their mind becomes a movie theater playing every possible bad ending. They're stuck watching the same scenes over and over again. The problem is, the more you overthink, the more uncertain you feel. You gather more data, more opinions, more research in hopes of getting clarity, but instead you drown in it. It's like trying to see the bottom of a pond. You stir up the water so much, you can't see anything at all. And here's the irony. Most breakthroughs don't come from thinking more. They come from thinking differently. They come from intentional thinking. Intentional thinking is the opposite of overthinking. It's not about spinning your wheels. It's about directing your mental energy toward a specific outcome. It's focused, purposeful, and time-bound. You're not asking, what could go wrong? Repeat. You're asking, what's the best next step I can take right now? It's solution-driven instead of fear-driven. You see, overthinking is almost always rooted in fear. You're afraid of making the wrong move, so you stall. But here's the thing. Inaction is also a decision, and it often costs you more than making a move and adjusting later. The people who make things happen in life aren't the ones who get every decision right from the start. They're the ones who decide quickly, act, and then adapt along the way. To break the cycle of overthinking, you've got to start with awareness. You have to catch yourself in the act. The moment you notice you're going in circles, pause and ask, am I thinking to solve or am I thinking to avoid? If you're just avoiding action, then you're not solving anything. You're just delaying. That's when you shift into intentional thinking. Intentional thinking has structure. You give yourself a specific time limit to think about the problem. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe an hour for something bigger. But once the time's up, you decide. You take the best option you have with the information available and move forward. Action beats endless analysis every single time, because once you take action, you get feedback. And feedback is infinitely more valuable than speculation. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're deciding whether to start a new business, switch jobs, or begin a new project. Overthinking will have you researching for months, making endless pros and cons lists, asking 10 different people for advice, still not feeling ready. Intentional thinking will have you ask, what's one small step I can take this week to move closer to a decision? Then you take that step, see what happens, and adjust. You're moving, learning, growing instead of standing still. Here's another key difference. Overthinking focuses on problems. Intentional thinking focuses on possibilities. When you overthink, you magnify every potential obstacle until it looks impossible. You think intentionally, you acknowledge the obstacles, but you spend most of your energy asking, how can I overcome this? Who can help me? Resources do I already have? You stop looking for reasons why it won't work and start looking for ways it can. One of the most powerful tools you can use to shift from overthinking to intentional thinking is asking better questions. The quality of your life is directly linked to the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Overthinking asks low quality questions like, what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? Intentional thinking asks high quality questions like, what's the first step I can take? What can I learn from this if it doesn't go as planned? What's the best possible outcome? The moment you change the question, you change the focus. And when you change the focus, you change the outcome. Another strategy is to focus on what's in your control. Overthinking loves to obsess over things you can't do anything about. The weather, other people's opinions, the past, none of that is in your hands. Intentional thinking zooms in on what you can influence right now. When you pour your energy into action instead of speculation, you start to see results, and results create confidence. I'm not saying you should never think deeply about things. Deep thinking has its place, but there's a difference between reflection and rumination. Reflection is purposeful. It leads to insight and action. Rumination is repetitive. It leads to anxiety and paralysis. You have to train yourself to know the difference and cut off the rumination before it eats up your mental space. If you want a practical way to do this, try setting a decision deadline for anything that's been bouncing around in your head for too long. Write down the decision you need to make, gather what you need to know, give yourself a set amount of time to think about it, then commit to making the call when the timer's up. You'll be shocked at how much mental energy this frees up. And here's the real gift. You can redirect that energy toward creating the life you want instead of fearing the life you don't. You stop looping on the same thought for days, weeks, or months. You open up mental real estate for creativity, problem solving, and genuine peace. You're no longer trapped in the endless what if cycle. You're living in the what's next mindset. This shift doesn't just improve your decisions, it changes how you feel day to day. You become lighter, more decisive, more confident. People notice it. You stop being the one who always says, I'm still thinking about it, and you become the one who's making moves, learning as you go, and actually making progress. Because at the end of the day, your life isn't shaped by what you thought about, it's shaped by what you acted on. And the sooner you replace overthinking with intentional thinking, the sooner you start living the life you've been imagining. The heaviest things you can carry isn't in your hands, it's in your heart and your mind. And the truth is, some of you have been carrying it for years. Old betrayals, words that cut deep, opportunities you lost, mistakes you made that you keep replaying like they happened yesterday. You may not see it, but it's there. It's in the tension in your shoulders, in the tightness in your chest, in the way you react to certain people or situations. It's emotional weight, and it's holding you back more than any physical obstacle ever could. Here's the thing, your mind is not designed to carry unresolved pain forever. It will keep reminding you about it until you deal with it. Dealing with it doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It doesn't mean saying it was okay. It means releasing it so it doesn't own you anymore. Forgiveness is not a gift you give to the person who hurt you. It's a gift you give to yourself. It's setting yourself free from the prison you've been living in, sometimes without even realizing the door was unlocked the whole time. Think about it. When you hold on to resentment, you keep the wound open. You keep feeding it energy. Every time you think about what happened, you experience it again. You feel the same anger, the same disappointment, the same sadness. And that emotion takes up space that could be used for joy, creativity, love, or peace. It's like keeping a toxic item in the fridge. You open it every day, you smell it, and you wonder why the whole kitchen stinks. The same goes for self-forgiveness. Some of you are carrying mistakes you made years ago. You're still punishing yourself for them. Maybe it was a decision you regret, a risk you didn't take, a promise you broke. You've been your own judge, jury, and jailer, replaying the scene over and over, thinking that somehow if you keep beating yourself up, you'll make it right. But here's the truth. You can't move forward while you're chained to your past. The only way to use your past is to learn from it, not to live in it. You choose not to forgive, whether it's yourself or someone else. You're allowing the past to dictate your present and your future. You might think you're punishing the other person, but in reality, you're the one paying the price. They might have moved on. They might not even be thinking about it, but you're carrying them with you everywhere you go. They sit with you at the dinner table in your thoughts. They walk into new opportunities with you through your fears. They steal your focus when you're trying to build something new. Releasing isn't about forgetting. You'll still remember what happened, but the memory will no longer have the same grip on you. It won't trigger the same emotional storm. Look at it like an old photograph, something from the past that no longer has power over your present. And when you get to that place, you'll realize how much energy you've been wasting on something you couldn't change anyway. So how do you do it? You start by making a decision. Forgiveness doesn't start with a feeling, it starts with a choice. You decide that you are done carrying this. You decide that your future is more important than your pain. You decide that you'd rather use your energy to create something beautiful than to keep watering the weeds of the past. And once you make that choice, you follow it up with action. That action might be writing a letter you never send, having a conversation you've been avoiding, or simply saying out loud, I release this. I'm done. And yes, it's not always instant. Sometimes you have to keep reminding yourself of that choice until your emotions catch up. Forgiveness can be a process. Some wounds are deep and they take time to heal. But every time you choose release over resentment, you're taking back a piece of your freedom. You're clearing mental space for better things to grow. Here's what's beautiful. You don't have to wait for an apology to forgive. You don't need someone else to know what they did for you to set yourself free. You don't even need them to change. Forgiveness is an inside job. It's between you and your own peace of mind. And if you're waiting for someone else to give you closure, you might be waiting forever. Closure is something you give yourself by deciding you're ready to move on. When you finally let go, you'll notice something shift. It's like taking off a backpack you didn't realize was full of bricks. You feel lighter. You think more clearly. You have more patience, more compassion, more capacity to enjoy the moment. Here's the unexpected part. You also become stronger. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's strength. It takes courage to let go of something that's hurt you. It takes strength to rise above it instead of letting it define you. There's a story I once heard about two monks walking through the forest. They come to a river and see a woman struggling to cross. One monk lifts her up, carries her across, and sets her down on the other side. They continue walking. Hours later, the second monk says, "I can't believe you carried that woman. We're not supposed to touch women." The first monk looks at him and says, "I set her down hours ago. Are you still carrying her?" That's what resentment is. You keep carrying something long after you could have set it down. You can't change the fact that it happened, but you can change what it means to you. You can choose to see it as a lesson, as a moment that built resilience in you, as something that shaped you but doesn't own you. That choice is yours, and it's one of the most powerful ones you'll ever make. Because when you forgive and release, you don't just free yourself from the past, you make room for a better future. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant in it will grow. If you plant weeds, you'll get weeds. If you plant flowers, you'll get flowers. Here's what most people don't realize. You can't just pull out the weeds and walk away. If you clear your mind of negativity, doubt, and mental clutter, but don't deliberately plant something positive, empowering, and nourishing, weeds will come back. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the mind. Whatever space you don't fill intentionally will get filled by default, and default thinking is rarely uplifting. That's why feeding your mind empowering content every single day is non-negotiable if you want to live at your highest level. It's like food for your body. You wouldn't go days without eating and expect to feel strong. You wouldn't fill your body with junk and expect to feel energized. Yet, for some reason, people think they can go days, weeks, even years without intentionally feeding their mind something good, and then they wonder why they feel stuck, uninspired, lost. What you feed your mind determines how you think. How you think determines how you feel, and how you feel determines the actions you take. So if your thoughts are negative, small, or limited, it's not a mystery why your life feels that way. The good news, you can change it. You have complete control over what you allow in. And in today's world, you have access to more empowering content than ever before. This doesn't mean you have to spend hours reading self-help books or watching motivational speeches. Feeding your mind is about consistency, not volume. It's the small daily inputs that make the biggest difference over time. 10 minutes of something that inspires you in the morning can set the tone for your entire day. A single quote, a short video, a page from a powerful book. These little doses, when stacked day after day, compound into a completely different mindset. The key is to be intentional. You can't leave it to chance because chance will fill your mind with whatever is loudest, most dramatic, or most attention grabbing in the moment. And let's be honest, that usually means negativity. If the first thing you do in the morning is grab your phone and scroll through social media, you're not feeding your mind. You're feeding your comparison, your insecurity, your distraction. If you turn on the news first thing, you're feeding your fear before you've even had breakfast. Instead, make it a habit to choose something that lifts you up first thing in the day. Maybe it's listening to a podcast that teaches you a skill. Maybe it's watching a short video that sparks your motivation. Maybe it's reading a chapter from a book that expands your thinking. Maybe it's journaling about what you're grateful for or visualizing your goals. It doesn't matter which method you choose. What matters is that you do it on purpose and do it daily. Here's the thing. Your brain is like a sponge. It absorbs whatever you put around it. If you spend time around people who dream big, speak possibility, take action, you'll start thinking the same way. If you spend time around people who complain, blame, and make excuses, you'll start thinking like that too. This is why it's so important not just to consume empowering content, to also surround yourself with empowering people. The conversations you have are part of your daily mental diet. If you want to think better, talk with people who challenge you to grow. Don't just feed your mind with positive messages, feed it with learning. Expand your knowledge, develop your skills, explore new perspectives. Read books that make you think differently. Study people who have achieved what you want to achieve. From history, from science, from art, from human behavior. A mind that's constantly learning stays alive, sharp, and ready for opportunities. Some people say, but I don't have time to read or listen to all that. That's just a choice. You have time, you're just filling it with something else. Even the busiest person has small pockets of time that can be turned into learning time. Listen to an audiobook during your commute. Play a podcast while you're cooking. Read a few pages before bed instead of scrolling your phone. The point isn't to cram more into your schedule. It's to swap out what's draining you for what's fueling you. Here's what happens when you do this consistently. You start to notice your mental baseline changing. The thoughts that used to trigger you don't hit as hard. The fears that used to stop you start to shrink. Your confidence grows because your mind is being reinforced daily with ideas, perspectives, and beliefs that build you up instead of tear you down. You begin to think bigger because you're feeding yourself bigger thoughts. It's not just about motivation. Empowering content doesn't just hype you up. It reshapes your mental framework. It changes what you believe is possible. It helps you see solutions you couldn't see before. It strengthens your resilience so when life hits you, which it will, you have the mental armor to keep going. And here's the beautiful part, it's contagious. The more you feed your mind with empowering content, you naturally speak empowering words. You'll find yourself encouraging others, sharing new ideas, and becoming a source of inspiration without even trying. People will notice the difference in you. They'll feel the energy, the positivity, the certainty. And that's when you know you've shifted, not because you're forcing it, but because it's who you've become. The truth is you can't control everything that happens in your day, but you can control how you prepare for it. Feeding your mind daily is like putting on mental armor before stepping into the world. You're ready for the challenges not because they disappear, but because you've conditioned yourself to face them from a place of strength. You make this a daily habit. You won't just clean your mind. You'll fortify it. You'll stop being reactive to whatever life throws at you and start being proactive in creating the life you want. That's when you realize empowerment isn't something you wait for. It's something you feed. You can spend hours cleaning your mind, feeding it with empowering ideas, and filling it with possibility. But if you don't protect it, that work can be undone in minutes. It's like building a beautiful home and leaving the front door wide open for storms, thieves, and wild animals to walk right in. Your mind is your most valuable asset, yet most people guard their phone passwords more than they guard their thoughts. Think about it. Every day, there are countless influences trying to enter your mental space. Some are obvious, the headlines that scream disaster and the online rants dripping with outrage. Others are subtle, like the casual negativity in a conversation or the quiet doubt planted by someone's offhand comment. If you're not paying attention, these things seep in. They take root. They start shaping how you see yourself, how you see others, and how you see the future. And before you know it, you're not thinking your own thoughts anymore. You're thinking someone else's fear, someone else's limitation, someone else's version of reality. Protecting your mind doesn't mean living in a bubble or pretending that bad things don't exist. It means being intentional about what you let in and how much influence it's allowed to have over you. You can acknowledge reality without letting it dictate your emotional state. You can hear an opinion without adopting it. You can see a challenge without deciding you're powerless against it. One of the most dangerous things about negative influences is that they often disguise themselves as truth. You hear people say, just being realistic, or I'm just telling it like it is. But most of the time, realistic is just another word for limited by my own perspective. If you accept someone's limited view of what's possible, you've already put yourself in their cage. That's why you have to be vigilant. Just because something is common doesn't mean it's correct. Just because it's loud doesn't mean it's wise. It starts with your environment. You spend time with matters, not just because of what they say, but because of what they normalize. If you spend enough time around people who constantly complain, you start seeing the world through the lens of complaint. If you're around people who always focus on problems, you'll train your mind to look for problems instead of solutions. But if you surround yourself with people who think possibility, who take ownership, who lift you higher, you naturally start protecting your mindset without even thinking about it. This is why sometimes protecting your mind means creating distance. It's not about cutting people out in anger. It's about recognizing what's good for your mental health and what isn't. If certain conversations always leave you feeling drained, you can step away from them. If certain content always leaves you feeling small or insecure, you can unfollow it. You don't have to consume everything just because it's there. You have the right to choose your mental diet. And it's not only about people, it's about information. We live in an age where you can consume more content in a single day than our grandparents did in a month. That's both a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that you have instant access to knowledge, ideas, and inspiration. The curse is that you're also bombarded with noise, outrage, and distraction. Protecting your mind means setting boundaries for what you allow yourself to consume. You don't need to check the news every hour to be informed. You don't need to scroll through endless posts to be connected. You don't need to give your attention to every crisis that flashes across your screen. Here's the truth. Attention is your most valuable currency. Whatever you give it to grows in your mind. If you give it to negativity, negativity grows. If you give it to gratitude, gratitude grows. If you give it to fear, fear grows. Protecting your mind is about spending your attention wisely, like an investor who only puts money into things that will give them a positive return. Sometimes the biggest battle isn't the negative influence outside of you. It's the negative influence inside of you. That inner voice that whispers you're not enough, that you'll never change, that you're wasting your time. That voice can be louder than any critic because it knows exactly where to hit you. Protecting your mind means challenging that voice. It means catching yourself when you slip into old patterns of self-doubt and saying, no, I'm not feeding that thought. Replacing it with something better. You have the power to interrupt your own mental patterns in the same way you turn off a song you don't like. And here's what's beautiful. When you protect your mind long enough, it becomes second nature. You don't even have to think about it. You recognize toxic influences before they take root. You automatically filter out what doesn't serve you. You choose your input as carefully as you choose the food you eat or the people you trust. And over time, you start to notice that life feels lighter, not because the world has changed, but because your mental space is no longer clogged with junk. There will always be negative influences. You can't escape them completely, but you can control the gate. You can decide who and what gets through. You can decide how much weight you give to the things that try to pull you down. And you can choose every single day to keep your mental space clean, strong, and ready for growth. Because here's the reality. Your mind is either being shaped by the world around you or it's being shaped by you. And the difference between the two is whether or not you've made the decision to protect it. When you protect your mind, protect your future.